What is up, Honey Badger Nation? Welcome to another episode of Expert Mentors Live. I'm excited for today. Got Miss Kristen Cantrell in the house, and we're going to dive into, really how to kind of design and really build, business through building community. And I know you're going to really walk us through it and some things you're absolutely passionate about. Just what we got to chop it up for the couple minutes before we hit the live button. But man, Kristen, welcome. And man, please just kind of introduce and tell a little bit of background about yourself to the Honey Badger Nation.
Okay. Hi, I'm super happy to be here. I love being a honey badger. And my background in real estate has been a little bit different. I started out as a recruiter in real estate, and I did that for 5 years. If you guys know Chuck Fazio, I was his recruiter, Chuck and Angela. And we grew, when I started with them, they had 350 people in their brokerage. And over 5 years, we grew to 906. And I learned a ton. I learned a ton on the running a brokerage side versus, getting my real estate license and going out and selling real estate. So in 2020, Chuck and Angela told me that we'd be closing down our brokerage, and I cried, and they told me we're moving to EXP, and I cried more. And so I went and got my real estate license at that point. I had 1 month to do it before we announced to our brokerage we were closing down and moving. And, it was a very stressful 6 months for me, but once we closed the brokerage and I really focused on learning EXP, it has been absolutely the best thing. I'm so thankful that they did that. I stopped working for them in December of 2020, so almost a year into EXP. And then over the last year and a half, I've been focusing on building my own business, and I call it Connect and Cultivate under the EXP umbrella. So it's been fun.
That's awesome. So, being able to work with under some, just a dynamic duo like Angela and Chuck, and like, what were some of the biggest ahas or lessons or things that you've learned with your time working, hand in hand with them that's carried you into this next phase of your career?
I feel like with Chuck and Angela, they've always been so behind anything that I do. So I think that like having somebody like them, I think is essential to growing, is always having like those people that are behind you to cheer you on. Chuck, I was just telling you before we went on, he was always somebody that was just like, it's a numbers game. And he wears a shirt that says it's just math still to this day. Like so for me, it's always like, how am I collecting people? And so I like to do that. What's authentic to me is doing it through building community and doing events and doing classes. And so that's how I've kind of showed up for probably 6 years now, is I'm always just putting on value events, whether that's, I used to do CE classes a long time ago. I don't do that anymore. But whether it's a class or a content shoot or a new build tour or an event, like right now I'm doing an event in Florida. I have 2 big women's events I do. So I'm constantly just creating a calendar full of events to get myself in front of people. And that's definitely something I've learned from them.
Yeah. And how to go about it and sitting in that recruiter seat, like, what were some of the challenges early on and maybe challenges that you see in other people today that are trying to, recruit people to their organization, to their business, to increase headcount? Like, what were some of the challenges you encountered and then the challenges you still see with others today?
Yeah, so my challenge was early on when I didn't know what I was doing and I did not know much about real estate. And I remember Chuck would make me pull brokerage lists, and he'd say, you just start at the top and you go to the bottom and you call these people and here's your scripts. And at the time, there was like one podcast I'd listened to. This is a long time ago, and it was a recruiter that was training, and he was not my style at all. So I would try it. I'd call and I'd do these scripts, and I hated, for one, I hated showing up doing it. For two, I hated the phone calls. And three, I hated the appointments that did come out of it. It was so rare that I would sit across from somebody that was like, I enjoyed the conversation and they were my ideal person that I wanted to bring into the culture I was building with them, right? So I quickly was like, how can I get the right people in front of me to build this brokerage that has this awesome culture? And so I had this aha moment where I went to Chuck and Angela and I said, I'm going to start a mom's group. I had a newborn and a 1-year-old, and I was like, I want to get in front of moms. And I was like, I'm going to do this mastermind. We're going to meet once a month. It's going to be awesome. We're going to share ideas. And again, this is 7 years ago, maybe almost 8 years ago. So this wasn't like masterminds weren't, they're just everywhere now. So it wasn't like that. So I thought I had this brilliant idea. And Chuck and Angela sat me down and they're like, you're thinking way too small. I'm like, okay, then what am I going to do? And they're like, we're going to do a talk show and you're going to be like Ellen. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And so they said, we're going to do a talk show. We're going to interview a mom in real estate every single Thursday. So literally every week they tend to do things every single week. And so we had a couch, we had coffee cups. We just did this whole moms in real estate thing. And it was so fun. And that was my major recruiting tool was moms in real estate. We still have it to this day. It's transformed into a podcast because now we wanted a nationwide audience starting in 2020. So, and that's been, that was my eye opener to, I create the rooms that I want to show up in, and it will create, my ideal clients will come to those rooms. Right. So that's kind of what opened my eyes to it. What I do see people doing is they come to EXP or anywhere, any recruiter, and they try to do what I tried to do. They're trying to cold call or do something that, Joe Smith is doing, and it's not authentic to them. So they're showing up and people can feel that. And so what I like is everyone has a different, they're so different in how they go about it. So take little pieces from everybody and create what's authentic to you to show up to go and attract people.
No, I love that, right? It's all the different styles, all the different ways. And yet, if you're not designing or creating kind of a structure or like you said, Chuck and Angela send you to do things every week, right? The consistency, the discipline to the process. And I think Kristen, and you can speak to this a little bit. I think it's people just tend to, hey, do it this way and do it that way without really taking the time to step back and say, is that something I'm willing to commit to?
Yeah.
And so, I believe you figure it out. And is that something you're willing to commit to instead of commit and figure it out? And when you design that to that authentic self, it never feels like work. It just feels natural. And has that kind of been your experience as kind of you've gone through this journey over the last couple of years and designing it maybe a way that you're willing to commit to?
Yeah, I am so excited about everything that I show up to. So Moms in Real Estate, we still have it airing every single Thursday, right? And so when we record those calls, we have so much fun, and it's the whole process around getting to know the guest. And I never, ever dread those moments. And then even this year, as I'm planning out 2023, I have like everything laid out. And one thing that I've always struggled with is I hate numbers. I hate them. Every time people start asking me, what are your numbers? I tense up, and anything to do with that. I've always just been like, I'm going to work hard. The money will come. I don't need all that stuff. And so this year, I have made sure to put myself in rooms that are around money. And so how I did that was I seeked out a mastermind that I'm not the one running it, so that I can just show up and participate. And then I do weekly calls with my group. And so I filter them through production, mindset, systems. And one of the other filters is money. So I make sure that at least every 6 weeks, I have somebody coming in and coaching my group, coaching me on money topics. And then I also am creating a retreat in Florida right now, and it's all about money mindset. And I'm bringing in top people. And, I have like a tax strategist. I have people that are, avid investors that have a lot of doors that are going to walk us through everything, mindset people. And that will help me attract people to my downline, to my other business. And as well, it's going to help me with my money problems, with my money mindset. So I wanted to make sure to create all those things to further myself and my group.
Well, where did you land on those topics? I mean, did you have a process you went through? Were you being a little selfish? Just how did you come up with those specific topics?
I mean, I talk to people all day, every day, right? So I'm either meeting new people or connecting with people I already know. And so I know that there is a lot of people that struggle with the same thing. They don't want to do budgets. They don't want to talk about taxes. They don't want to talk about numbers and their goals. And so I just see it as something that I'm not only struggling with, but they are. So how can I go find people that aren't struggling and bring it back to my group?
Yeah, I love that. So just really being inquisitive and listening, and then being able to bring that in. So really designing that around kind of what the big challenges are, what the big problems are.
Yeah, I ask people, I mean, my group, I'm always asking, what classes do you want? What do you want to hear? Who do you want to hear from? Because I'm the one that goes out and gets that. I don't go to, like, I mean, even when I go to like EXPCon or Build or any of those things, like I love the events, but my main goal is to make connections with other agents, because when I can go out and make connections with other EXP agents, they want me to teach for their group and I need them to teach for mine. So it's really cool how just going and having that open mindset to build relationships at those events has really helped my group a ton.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. What, kind of go back, you said something that I wanted to circle back around to, and it was kind of where you guys were still, which is super impressive, even over 300, but then being able to, push that all the way up over 900. But you were really concerned about, protecting the culture that you guys have built. Can you kind of explain and unpack what that means and what it meant to you?
Yeah, at the time, like culture to me is like having you walk in a room and you feel really good and everybody's accepting, and it's hip, it's you're learning. There's just so many different elements. And I feel like there's people that I would sit in front of when I was cold calling, if you're going back to that example, is like they were a drain and a drag sometimes. I felt like that was the people that were sitting across from me. And for me to bring somebody in and them do that, it can be a cancer to the whole group, right? And so I'm really protective of that. I'm really protective of that in my group at EXP, because we do a lot of in-person stuff. And so the culture to me is like, I want people to really want to be a part of it. And then I want them to also, like I have a ton of awesome leaders within my group at Connect and Cultivate, where they want to show up and they want to show up regularly and teach and pour into my culture because of how I've built it, right? And so I feel like that's kind of, I don't know, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, no. Yeah, really just kind of what does culture, mean to you? And I think, you did a good job at articulating that. You said something there, people are excited to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes them so excited to show up?
Because they always are building connections that further them in their business and their life. I mean, it could definitely goes outside of business. Like I see these relationships form within my group where all of a sudden like two people are going out together on the weekend and they're hanging out and like it, and they are helping each other in their business. So it's kind of, that's like a big deal for me too.
No, and I think too, you mentioned something in there that they also come in and have an opportunity to not only receive, but also to give.
Yes.
And being able to collaborate and know that they can come in and have a platform within your community to have a voice as well.
Yeah, I have two of my, like one of the top agents in the East Valley in Arizona, two of them that show up every single Thursday and they do like a deep dive on the market reports. And so I'm not, again, it's like something that I'm not good at, but they're freaking excellent at. So they show up every week for the Connect and Cultivate community and they are doing that and they're committed to doing that. And they're committed to doing it because they love the group. And it's an opportunity for them to become a person of interest to grow their own organization,
No, I love that. I think there's something to be, to be said, and maybe a little underlying nugget here for everybody listening in that will listen to this in the future is that, if you're struggling building a community, making sure that, you're getting people to intertwine, to interact, to collaborate, and to share, their gift, right? Their uniqueness. And I think a lot of people, Kristen, struggle with that because they feel that they've always got to be the center of attention and the one that's always adding the value. And that's so hard. It's so hard to be able to do.
Yeah, I've kind of, I think a lot of people disagree with me how I've built my organization, but I feel like it's the way that's worked for me. I've always known like, I'm always going to be constantly going out and building. But some of these agents that are so fantastic, it's really hard for them to. And what's really easy for me is to get behind them and help them. be in the spotlight and help them build their group too. So I know, like, I'll give you an example. I do monthly content shoots, and they're all about, us getting content. Obviously, we do reels, we do professional photos, but they're also all about relationship building and having a tool to invite other people, other agents to come into our community to see what we do. And I even have random agents come from other brokerages or brand new agents that see it online and come. So the last one that we did 2 weeks ago, I had a couple outside agents, and I had a brand new agent to Arizona come in. And she's like, yeah, I'm looking for a team. She's like, I've been an experienced agent for 5 years in Seattle, but I just moved to Arizona. And I saw your thing online. I'm like, perfect. There's 3 team leads here. Let me introduce you to them. So she's going to be joining EXP, joining Connect and Cultivate. But what happened is I positioned my team leaders to be able to have an opportunity to meet somebody to grow their downline too. So I don't mind if somebody in my front line or in my downline meets somebody at my events and they go into their front line, because it's a win-win for me. And sometimes I see people that get so caught up in their front line that they don't necessarily want to do that. And so even if I see a connection, like I just had the girl that teaches on Thursdays for me, one of the top team leads here in the East Valley, she came in and I put her under another team lead because I wanted to collaborate with the 3 female team leads. I knew the power of what we could all do together. And so my group's kind of grown, not as fast in my front line, but overall, I grew to 350 in less than 3 years. But I lost 100 agents this year in one group. They were one group and they moved, and that was hard. But so I'm at 250 agents now.
Yeah, it's still pretty impressive, pretty remarkable as well. And so what's a lesson there from, losing, a third of your entire organization? What was kind of the aha and the lesson for you?
It was already a made decision before he came to me, and it was nothing I could do. There was nothing I could have done to stop it. And I think that the aha for me is just to keep moving forward. I still respect and really love those guys. But they felt it was a better move to go and go to a different brokerage and try to grow what they were growing there. And so I try always to respect somebody when they leave, because I always know I'm going to always be doing this. And so I want them to feel like they can always come back. But I would say that would be my lesson.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about, designing this from a standpoint of authenticity. And, my favorite definition of trust is just authenticity times time. And that really is what builds trust. And I think the trust in that you can help them accomplish what they're wanting to accomplish. So as you're kind of working with and mentoring and teaching and coaching, other moms, other people coming into your organization, what are some of the kind of hey, if I was to give you a kind of play by numbers, a step-by-step process to be thinking about, what would be some like action items as people listening in, like, Kristen, yes, this is resonating. I really want to build this community that interacts, that collaborates. So what are some key initial steps that people need to think about as they're trying to design this?
Yeah, so I think it's asking them what's lacking in their community that they wish was there, and how could they create it. We talked about consistency is key. So let's say I'm like, I hear it all the time, which is very shocking to me. People tell me that there's no mom communities in their area. So let's say it is the mom community. Then how are you showing up to the mom community in real estate and providing that room for them all to gather and collaborate, and be super and like focused on business? But also, what's another element? I have a girl right now that I'm working with that, she loves Jesus. So her whole thing is like, it's motherhood, Jesus, and real estate. And so she's creating her group around that. So her group is like, she's committing to every single quarter showing up to them. She didn't want to do it monthly. So she's doing a quarterly meetup for them where she's showing up and she dives into the Bible for 15 minutes. And then she's diving into some things that she's learned over, about motherhood, and that's really helped her. And then she dives into the rest of it all about real estate. And that is going to be her kind of to grow this community, and go out and, like, when she's prospecting, she'll be looking for people that have similar interests and inviting them into this group. So I think it's just coming up with whatever's authentic to you, coming up with a plan around it, and then making sure you're sticking consistent to it. And if you show up at your first event and there's only 2 people there, that is very normal. You need to just keep with it, because it will grow as you keep providing value. And I mean, my first content shoot was a year ago, and there was 3 people there, and now there's 50 people. There was more people that want to come, but I can't do it. So, just keep with it.
Yeah. So what is the agenda of the content shoot? Kind of what is it that you're talking about there? You had 3, now we're over 50, and you're putting up the stop sign for more people to come. What is something like that agenda type look like?
So we get there and everyone signs in. So the photographer I used to be that person that would like navigate and pull people aside to get photos. Now we have it to where you sign in and she'll call people out while we're all mingling. So we're like, let's say at a coffee shop, we're all drinking coffee, hanging out. We have somebody pulling people aside to do reels. They'll pull like 4 people aside at a time, go over trending audio and say, hey, you're going to do this, this, and this. And then we all do it together. You're pulling your phone out, getting content, because as a real estate agent, they're trying to be local experts. So we're trying to do it in like a hip, fun spot. I'm introducing people, and then the photographer just calls people over and gets their photos, and then that's it. It's for 2 hours. It's super fun. People love it. It's great for retention. It's a great invite tool. I love those.
Yeah, no, I love that. Where you make it, you just make it fun, right?
Oh,
it's
fun.
just, yeah, it's fun. It's getting them to where they can be comfortable, because that's some of the hardest things, right? Is just kind of, well, what content am I going to shoot? And then you're worried about it. But if you're in a safe, collaborative environment to where, you can just be you, I can see where that's really, really powerful and really powerful for the people attending.
Yeah, that's where I was like, when I started it, I was like, how are these people getting these cute photos in these downtown areas of themselves? And I'm like, why don't we'd start a group and we're going to be awkward together. And so it just kind of morphed over time to like hiring people in to do it. Now I don't even have to pay, people pay me. I have a vendor program. So people pay me monthly to be part of like the content shoots. So I have, $1,500 a month coming in just for the content shoots, which allows me to go out and be able to hire in and bring other fun stuff into it.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, being able to monetize it at a high level, just because that's one of the things, and this is kind of what we were, that's what we were kind of talking about prior to, the monetization and the goal of these events. And, it's kind of that rule of thumb that no matter what you do, there has to be a primary objective, there has to be a secondary objective,
Mm-hmm.
and what is the monetization strategy? Because if you don't have those 3 boxes checked, then it's not sustainable. It's just something you're not going to keep pouring into as much as you believe you want to. Compensation drives behavior. So you just got to make sure that you've got a clear objective, a clear goal, to be able to, really be intentional with those events. And, Kristen, is just kind of thinking, listening to you and really designing it. Why should people really be considering this and considering the design of their business, the design of their community? I mean, how come this matters so much?
Well, I think it matters because it's not, I feel like everyone tells me how drained they are right now and how they're just unmotivated. And I feel like when you have these people around you, like I can literally pick up the phone and call so many different people if I'm feeling a certain way, like, why am I doing this? That are going to say, this is why you're doing that. I think that communities, like, it's everything. It's so important to keep you motivated and going. I also think that, at EXP, it's like the whole thing is like you help somebody else, and the way your organization grows, right? It's like if you can get a bunch of ambassadors out there, right? So if I'm in community and I'm bringing all these people and they're bringing people and I'm constantly telling people to do that, that's where like my network is it's huge now, because I've been so intentional with growing community. And now even with EXP, growing it nationwide has been like, it's awesome. That's been probably the hardest thing for me, is figuring out how am I growing my organization outside of my local area because I am so community based. And that's probably been one of my biggest challenges at EXP.
Yeah. And yes, absolutely. Being able to tap, from a larger scale, being able to go. But I think you gave a really good kind of caveat to that when you were saying, you're really helping people in your front line grow their front line. And it just takes finding one or two rock stars out of your local community and pouring in and being able to do that for them, is really, kind of modeling and showing and helping them is what I've seen to be able to help that. And then, leveraging the larger community as a whole. You look at just not what you're trying to do on a local level, but even kind of what we've been able to cultivate, with the Honey Badger Nation. And, I honestly believe we have the best humans and the best agents, on the planet, just even within our, Honey Badger, network. So it's, don't think that you have to carry the load on your own. There's so many other people to be able to plug into and connect. And it's, you've got your community, but there is also a larger community you can really tap into as well.
Yeah, that's so true.
So, Kristen, just kind of, some final thoughts for folks living, kind of listening in and like kind of in a creative space, and like know that they've got to kind of make some changes and some design changes within their business, within their market, within the community. What would you kind of stress upon people going into the new year of what they need to be thinking about and what action items they should be really considering?
For me, I have been so focused on fixing. I'm kind of like a chicken running around with my head cut off for the last 7 years. So systems have been huge for me over the last 6 months. I've really, really went into that and built the foundation so that my events moving forward, it's very, very much plug and play. I know you guys always ask everyone, is your business duplicatable? And I felt like that took me so long to really understand how my business was duplicatable. And I feel like I'm at a point where I'm almost there. And I feel like that is due to my systems and everything. So if you're going to be doing community building and doing events, like, make sure that you have a plan in place so that you're not running around like that, because it can be it's just very messy, and you want to have everyone show up and feel the value, feel the vibe. Everything's really good, but the follow up and the before and the after and everything is so on point that they're so impressed with you. So the systems that I would say have been a game changer for me that I've implemented are Flowdesk. Flowdesk is it's like $19 a month, and it's a really pretty email campaign system. And then Trello has been like absolutely everything for me. So I keep track of this. My board for my 2023 has every event that I'm going to be doing, and every checklist, every person involved, every headshot, logo, everything for marketing is all in there. So definitely systems.
Yeah, 100%. And even something like that, right? Thank you for giving the example, because I think when people hear that, they try to overcomplicate it. And it's just as simple as having that bigger picture, having it in a way to where you just have a kind of paint by numbers checklist, even to really kind of work through and make sure that, you've got at least a track to run on. And, every event you do, you've done enough of them, those systems get tweaked, they get pressure tested, they get updated, they get changed. Hey, we need to do this. And so there's just a lot of constant learning as we continue to grow and make the changes and lift our business and lift our lives.
Yeah, definitely. And I do have, it's sorry if I'm not giving like very tactical things for you guys to do. It's hard for me on the spot, but I do definitely have like a whole system in place. So if anyone is really looking to do this, in January, we have like a whole community builders coaching program, and it's group coaching, and it's for any agent. I don't care if you're at EXP or anywhere. And it's going to be awesome. And it's very, very tactical on how to go out and how to be a community builder.
I love that. So what's the best way for people to get connected and plug in with you, Kristen?
With me, Instagram's really good. It's just, hey, Kristen Cantrell. That is definitely where I'm probably most responsive. And then you can look at the community builders site. It's realestateCommunityBuilders.com.
I love it. That's awesome. Kristen, I appreciate you. I mean, you really, just jumping in, adding a ton of value. And that's really what these expert mentors conversations are about, is just pulling, all the rockstar honey badgers we have in the community, and, just being able to tap into their brain power and their value add to pour back into the Honey Badger Nation.
Yeah. Well, thanks for giving me your advice before this call started. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you. I love being a honey badger. And if anyone needs anything, just reach out.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys get connected with Kristen. Also, wherever you're listening to this, make sure you give her lots of love for jumping in, like I said, and being a true expert mentor to the Honey Badger Nation.
All right. Bye.
Awesome. Cool. I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks.